February 7th, 2023 meeting of the West Haven ARPA Committee will now come to order. Will each member pay professional city official state the name for the record? We'll start here. Right here.
Gary Curto.
Dwight Knowles.
Ken Carney.
David Grudberg, Carmody Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy, counsel to the committee.
Chris Borstein.
Ken Ferris. Mike Glass. Rohan Smith.
Each member has, we have Councilman Ron Quagliani here tonight. We have Mark Payne from Park and Rec. And we have Olivia from Grants. Excellent. Each member has received a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda? I would like to move to rearrange the agenda. I'd like to bring Olivia up in a few moments to speak first regarding the homeless money that we have for the homeless. I'd like to bring Mark Payne up right after that to talk about a proposal for Painter Park. Everybody okay with that? Okay. And now go to the minutes. Dwight, just paraphrase the minutes. You don't have to use last names. Go ahead.
UHY is coming.
UHY is not here yet. You're not allowed to close this public meeting. You gotta keep the door open. That's right.
I couldn't hear it.
I know. I'm sorry. Let's go to minutes next.
West Haven ARPA Committee regular meeting, Tuesday, January 3rd. Call to order at 5:50. Committee members, Ken, Mike, Dwight, Chris, Rohan, absent, Gary, Iris, Ken, Ferris, Neil Caballero. In attendance, David Grudberg, Keegan P. French, Ronald M. Quagliani. Approval agenda for January 3rd. No discussion, approved. Approval of meeting for minutes for November 1st. Motion approved. Chairman's report. City Council passed a resolution approving a new procedures for approving a new invoice procedure. ARPA Chair review inspection for rejection or approval. UHY accountants review that the invoices meet all the compliance requirements. The invoice is then added to agenda for the ARPA Committee. ARPA Committee reviews and then approves. Letter to the Finance Director and Purchasing Agent that these invoices have been approved for payment. Rules on the actual invoices, what's required. Review of the newspaper article that talked about why people were not being paid. It was suggested that the city was waiting on some minutes. The meeting minutes are posted on the city website and stamped by the city clerk. The process within City Hall where the minutes are collated and put together with invoices and sent to be paid. That was not being done. West Haven ARPA Committee policy statement. Motion to accept. Second, no discussion, approved. Regular meeting schedule. Motion to accept the proposed meeting schedule for 2023, approved. New ARPA proposed spending plan to be reviewed with the council. Project list, update. Invoice for UHY 630405979, the amount of $20,388.68, approved. UHY invoice number 630406601, in an amount of $17,400, approved. UHY invoice 630406818, in an amount of $9,915.92, approved. Carmody invoice number 2528045, in the amount of $2,520, approved. JOW Films invoice number 1089 for $250, approved. Joy Films invoice number 1086 in the amount of $350, approved. Antonazi Associates invoice number 97184374.7 in the amount of $5,700, approved. Frankson Fence estimate $982, approved. Ivy League Landscaping estimate for $1,875, approved. Food Bank, a meeting is being set up with UHY and the 5 recipients. We are going back out to bid for the food bank to prove to the feds that we did not eliminate anyone from the last bid. Johnson Senior Center, in design, stormwater management, total $3 million. Capital fund, $530,000. Grant matching funds, $1 million. Action required, invoice for CDM Smith in the amount of $90166,051 in the amount of $25,000, approved. CDM Smith, invoice number 90163,207 for $10,000, approved. Any geostyle site number 3263 in amount of $425, approved. Fish and Wildlife Grant, $149,934, approved. No discussion. Yep. Yep. Child Development Center roof, Antonazi Associates, and invoice number 971843,747, $5,700, approved. Parks Fund, Frankson Fence, estimate, I've done that.
I've done that, okay, give it, that's it.
You can actually go through the rest of
That's
this. There's estimates and there's, we did estimates and we did bill the same night, so we're going so quickly.
Yep.
So you don't have to repeat it, you can track it up.
Okay.
Going over the new meeting schedule.
Yep. ARPA project update list dated 12/27 from Ernie Chiarella, project coordinator and sidewalk inspector. New business, Elm City Materials, number 18148, $2,608.16, approved.
You can go out to motion to adjourn, these are just small
Yeah.
bills, we got them all, it's fine.
Motion to adjourn.
And we also had in there the meeting schedule, the policy statement, and payroll supporting documentation. Are there any proposed, do you have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept
Ken?
the minutes.
Do I have a second? Dwight?
Second.
Okay. Any changes, guys? No, we're good? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, if we go to page 12, thank you, Dwight. If we go to page 12, and we go to our project sheet, we have on here $350,000 under project 2023006 for Housing Crisis Grant Fund. We have a summary handed out tonight that came to us tonight. We have Olivia here tonight from the City of West Haven Grants Department. If you want to come and share with us, we will talk to you for a few moments. Thank you for being here.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Olivia Basanti. I'm the Assistant Grants Writer for City Hall. And I'm going to present to you pretty high level the Housing Crisis Response Program, or Grants Fund. I'm going to keep it high level, like I said, focused on process, but if you have any questions at all about how the homeless response system works, about outreach, case management specifically, I have worked in the field and I'm more than willing to answer any of those questions. So this program utilizes $354,500 of ARPA funds to address increased rates of homelessness in West Haven. The requested amount includes a 2-year contract for hiring a homeless outreach case manager through Columbus House, a housing support fund, and emergency hotel funds. These funds will be managed by the Emergency Management Director, Joe Soto. So for the case management contract, in December, we put it out to bid. We received a response from Columbus House, which is a local nonprofit, been around for about 40 years. They work exclusively with the homeless population. They will be paid on a reimbursement basis. We have yet to do the contract negotiations with our attorney and their attorney, but they have agreed to be paid on a reimbursement basis, and they will provide reports about tracking their time, how many people they've worked with in the area. The case manager will coordinate with West Haven community partners to identify individuals in need, and will receive referrals from 211, which is the housing crisis line for Connecticut. Reporting requirements for regional Regional homeless response systems require documentation and third-party verification of residency, so that's how we're going to make sure that the people being served are tied to live in or lived in West Haven before their homelessness began. And then I'm going to move on to the housing fund portion. So if you guys have any questions about the Columbus House contracting part.
One suggestion, if you're using city attorneys, they're kind of backed up. You may want to consider using the ARPA attorney
Okay,
to negotiate that contract. And if that's the case, I can get it done for you probably pretty quickly.
yeah,
Right. It might help you out.
okay, that sounds good. Any questions? No? Okay. And then we have the housing fund. This will be $150,000. This will be used by the case manager upon application. So what they'll do is when they have someone enrolled in the program through Columbus House, this person will have access to funding upon application. And the emergency management director will be reading through the applications. They are completely objective applications. If someone has the forms, if they're enrolled in the program, they have all the necessary forms to prove that they are homeless, they do have ties to or live in West Haven, and then the funds will be released that way. So these funds can be used for rental applications, additional security deposits, rental prepayments, and obtaining essential documents. So there's oftentimes a fee for ID, birth certificates, online services like that, and we want to be able for clients to access that because that is an underfunded area. They are bound to West Haven clients, and they will be distributed into an account, this is my proposal, distributed into an account created for the Housing Crisis Program in $10,000 increments, and the expenses will flow up the chain of command before reimbursement. So Joe Soto can sign off on the expenditure after reviewing the applications. It'll then be sent off to ARPA for review, grants accounting, department heads, so grants coordinator, finance, and then mayor's office will all sign off. And the applications will be available for you guys to view, but they will have to be redacted just for privacy reasons, personal information of clients. But receipts, everything like that will be reported back to you for reimbursement. And then last is the emergency hotel fund. So any questions about that one?
Second approval.
Besides Joe Santos?
Well, I think what happens is they will present invoices to us as
Yes.
the process unfolds, and we'll approve them at a meeting like this. Yeah, and they'll have the proper documentation. Any invoice that we get goes to UHY first for vetting. It makes our agenda, and then we vote on it. And I like the idea of another person, in this case, Mr. Soto being involved. It just adds another layer of protection.
Okay. And then the emergency hotel costs. So $55,000 in emergency hotel costs will take us up through 2026. Currently, West Haven does not budget for this, but it's a consistent need. And it can be, this doesn't have to be for homeless individuals. Typically, hoteling for homeless individuals, that funding will come from 211, the housing crisis line. But in terms of people whose homes burned down, flooding, I know like the sewer main breaks, some people might have needed to be moved around, and if they didn't have the funds, the city does try and help them out with that. So by approving this and having this funding available for Joe Soto, who typically manages these requests, it just makes it quicker, and we don't have to worry about running into a deficit with it. We actually have funds available for the coming years to cover that. So due to the emergency nature of the fund use, it would need to be on a reimbursement basis because people are calling at all hours of the night, and they also call Tom McCarthy. So this kind of alleviates that burden on them having the funds available. And to receive the reimbursement, emergency management director will need to bring receipts, of course, and explain to you guys all the reporting.
So my understanding is that when there is a need to put someone in a hotel, it presently gets applied to Public Works budget, and it always is a deficit. These ARPA funds will allow for $55,000 to be expended in that manner. They'll put the money out and we'll reimburse them with the proper documentation.
Yes.
I'm also told that the Columbus House provides an advocate to help the homeless person or homeless family not only find state aid, but find a place to live and eventually a job.
Yes.
And I also think of the 120 instances that occurred last year in West Haven for homelessness, a lot of that may have been repeat people who did not have the support group. These funds will allow for that support.
Yeah, that was actually just September, the number of people who called out of West
Really?
Haven, yeah.
Okay.
Question, do you have a negotiated rate with any particular hotel for these instances?
No, not at this time, but that is something that they would put out, for those instances. When, they couldn't do it on a case-by-case basis, but to get an agreement going would be something they would be interested in.
You could have the agreement before the need.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, they don't at this time, though.
Can we put it out to bid? No. Hotels?
Well, actually, because of the money that you're spending at one time, it doesn't have to go out to a public bid. They can simply call, and they can get 3 quotes. And that satisfies not only our purchasing ordinance, but everything we're doing for ARPA. Yeah, if it's over $10,000, it wouldn't fit in this category, and then they'd have to put it out to a public bid. But for the $300 or $400,
Yeah, they're typically much
Yeah.
smaller, much
Yeah.
smaller increments.
just getting 3 quotes randomly would suffice.
Yeah.
Do we have any insurance to, if there's any damage to these hotels? Okay?
I don't have the answer for you on that. I can get back to you on that. I'm not 100% sure
You
how
know,
they do.
don't want hotels coming up and saying they've damaged, a whole room, and we're out thousands of dollars.
I don't know of any instances where that has happened in the past, but I do understand, there's no way of predicting that
We
yet.
haven't seen it, luckily, so.
Luckily.
All right, any other questions? Yes, Mike?
How many, did you say 160 calls for 1 month?
It was 121, I believe, for September. The numbers aren't publicly available, so this was back from when I talked to the regional coordinator. 121 households contacted 211 expressing issues with their housing, and about half of them became formally enrolled in assistance programs. So the need is pretty high.
Yeah, and I think, looking, would there be funds available through either state or federal grants to make a program like this sustainable post-2026?
That would be the goal. Yeah. Ideally, that would become a mission of the grants department, and that's something we would work on, is to have funds to keep it going. Hamden did a very similar contract, actually with Columbus House, to have an outreach case manager, and they were unable to sustain it past that period, but they still have the need. So it's definitely a gap, and I think that's something we would definitely pursue when it comes to the end.
No, I think that sounds great, because I think it's certainly a big need now, and I don't think that need is gonna go away.
No.
So anything we can do to make the program sustainable, once the COVID money is gone, would be great.
Yeah.
The question is, speaking of, because you just mentioned Hamden with a program like this,
Mm-hmm.
is there a possibility to partner with another municipality? When I look at that, I look at $150,000 in administrative costs to distribute $150,000, which is also going to have some administrative costs in it as well. Just seems like a lot of administrative costs for, dollars that aren't going to make it actually to people who need it.
I think,
I can't imagine that, 2 years, $150,000 to basically what they're going to distribute is $150,000, right?
I see what you're saying, but no. So actually, the case manager is a full-time employee, and they have a caseload of individuals who, on top of, this fund is meant as a supplementary
Yeah.
piece, because they have access, Columbus House, through the regional structure, they have access to RAP vouchers, PSH, which are permanent supportive housing vouchers, incremental rent programs. They have access to that funding, so primarily what the case manager is doing is working with this individual to connect them to services, to get them a voucher, helping them find an apartment, sometimes finding a job if they're able to work.
So that individual will be actually leveraging a lot more money than $150,000.
I'm not sure what you mean.
other grants that they're finding, other aid they're finding for the individual homeless people.
Yeah, that money usually comes from the federal government, and they use vouchers to assist the person, yes.
So my understanding is the 150, each town gives to the Columbus House to pay the salary of the caseworker, the case manager.
Not always. The federal government does fund these positions, but they're regional. They cover a region.
I see.
So someone would come in and they'd be hired by Columbus House as an outreach case manager, and they would cover every single town in the greater New Haven region or in the Middletown region.
But is that where the 150 is going?
No, this is just for West Haven. So this
To
case
pay the case
manager.
manager.
Yes, we would tie this case manager specifically to West Haven, because right now, Columbus House has 8 outreach case managers. They cover East Haven, they cover West Haven, Hamden, New Haven, and the need is so high, West Haven is left out of it to a degree. They don't have enough staff to cover it adequately, and with the numbers we're seeing of people calling for assistance out of West Haven, we could really use someone who's just dedicated to this city. So that's kind of what we're doing. But in other aspects of what they're doing with the clients, they're following all of the protocols that Columbus House has. So that's applying for housing vouchers, connecting them to services.
Thank you.
Gary, you got a question?
Yeah, I got it. There's a question I just wanted to ask about other resources
Yeah.
that are going through, like, because we're affecting in other areas, our Red Cross and so on and so forth, that there's multiple fundings for these clients.
Yep,
This is just being managed by
yeah. This
by
is,
Columbus House.
yeah, so the real goal here is that there are housing vouchers available, right? And they can cover a portion of rent for someone who really needs it. Those come down from the federal government. But what goes unfunded is what this housing fund is intended to cover. It's intended to hasten the speed by which someone encounters a homeless individual, enrolls them in the program, the case manager, and then is able to house them. Because oftentimes, you'll hit a roadblock where you don't have any funding for this person's security deposit. Federal government doesn't have it, Columbus House doesn't have it, and you're stuck. So having this available to West Haven residents in need, it'll make it quicker and easier, and that's really the goal of having that fund.
But
Excellent.
there's no problem with this money without mixing with other funding?
Not
No.
at all.
Absolutely.
Not at
No.
all. That's excellent. All right. Any other questions? Great job tonight. Thank you. And bring us some invoices so we can pay them.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
I do in my office, I can bring it down for you.
No, that's okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, the chair recognizes Commissioner of Parks, Mark Payne. If you go to page 37 of your packet. Hello, Mark, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You have 2 requests tonight. Both are from Childscapes. For committee members, Childscapes is a company that is on the state bid list. We have used them extensively throughout the city. 37. We've used them extensively throughout the city. We don't have to go out to bid for this service. It's already pre-bid on the state bid list. Okay? So, Mark, tell us, you have 2 requests. Tell us what they are and why you need them.
So we have the pavilion and also the Grove, 2 pavilion picnic areas, which are heavily utilized all summer long. We rent them out at a very minimal fee to West Haven residents. One site has a small playground structure which needs to be removed. It's an extreme liability, and we can't get parts for it. The other pavilion does not have any swing set or any type of playground structure near it. So we have the one that is in need of replacement, but it's very contentious among the residents which side they can permit, because generally family parties have small children, and it isn't even a crossing the road from one side to the other. I think the parents want to sit down and relax and watch the kids at the same time. Combined with the fact that we have summer day camp, 150, 160 kids every day all summer long, we could certainly utilize the structures in addition to the wooden playground and some of the swings that we have. And the current structure is just a liability. So I was,
The wooden playground is off to the
the
side.
wooden playground is a completely separate
Yeah, right.
issue, yeah. So I had also been in contact with a gentleman from Creative Rec who Ernie and Tom had worked with for some of the small pocket park stuff. I was not privy to the schematics on that quote, so I can't do an apples to apples, but the quote that I got from Creative is a total of $84,500 for, $84,500 for the 2 structures versus, I think it was about $111 for the other 2. They're on
not on the state bid list, right?
they are on the state bid list.
Oh, they are, okay.
But again, I did not see the other plans, so if you would like to
Yeah,
take this.
let me have a copy of
And
those.
what
Just
I,
give them to Rohan for me if you don't
what I
mind.
can do is I can forward you the entire proposal tomorrow that has all the catalog and all the
Okay.
information, and you can do an apples to
Yeah,
apples,
we'll do
because
that, yeah.
I don't have the other material.
All right, so if that's the case, after questions are asked, I'm gonna ask for a motion to approve up to the amount of childscapes.
Certainly, yeah.
And then if we can get a better deal, we'll go that route.
And I know that is perfectly suitable. It's just the right size. They are not exact mirror images of one another, but they are extremely similar.
And how are you, what are you calling these two projects? You got one for 57,931.35, and one for 62,546.58?
That was just the way the quote came in.
But
They
what do you call these projects? How do we refer to them?
Painter Grove, Painter Pavilion,
Which
playground
one's,
structure.
which one's which?
Painter Pavilion is the lower one.
Is that the $57,000 one, or the 62? 63.
It'll say on there, it'll say left or right, and Painter Pavilion is the right, and Painter
I
Grove
see.
is the left. And for your, the Grove is the structure that is closest to the rink.
All right, so Painter Park left is the Grove,
Yeah,
and Painter Park right is what do you call that?
the pavilion.
Pavilion.
I'm thinking that the larger one's probably the pavilion, though, because
It
it
is.
will remove the, yeah, it includes the removal of the structure, whereas the other side is just the grading of.
The only two lights out in the entire room are the two above my head, so I'm struggling over here to see what,
That's
I'll
okay.
bring a flashlight next week. Unbelievable. All right, what questions do we have for Mark?
Mark, does the updated quote that you brought, does that include the demolition of the
Of the
existing equipment?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Okay.
And it's a small structure, so it isn't something that Public Works could take care of in the.
And these would be used by the summer programs, and also folks that would be renting the
So-
facilities?
The park is used every day by residents, and everybody thinks Painter Park is a nice-sized space, but very few people realize that Painter Park is over 30 acres. You know, we are very, very blessed with the density that we have these open spaces, the beach, Painter, Plainfield, and it is really nice as a recreation professional to see that we're finally addressing these areas, giving them the attention they need. At the end of the day, we're a community of homes and families. This is what people are attracted to, aside from the school systems. You know, we don't have the commercial areas, we don't have a lot of the amenities that other municipalities have to attract. And this is who we are, and I think this is what we do. And we get a tremendous amount of feedback from it. So, you know, this is a daily, people in the park every single day, aside from the camp programs, aside from our programming.
Now, what percentage of the, and I haven't looked at it in years and years, the rental of the pavilions through the summer, is that pretty much rented every weekend?
Every week, we will be booked through, we cut it off right around Columbus Day.
Okay.
Due to the weather. And we're not currently using Shingle Hill, but if it becomes available after it's refurbished, that is number 3, again, because of the location, less parking, no plumbing, no plumbed bathrooms, and again, the lack of these other amenities that Painter has, the playground structures, the fields, the tennis courts, the basketball court.
No, that's great, thank you.
So Mark, on the creative recreation, I don't see a base called out. So I'll do a comparison
Yeah.
on these two, but I don't see any base. The Childscapes is spelling out a specific base material.
I believe it's the 4,500 for the engineered mulch on the bottom there.
Oh, here it is, yep, I see certified wood fiber.
So
Okay.
we can't really use regular wood chips or wood
No, of
fiber.
course
It's
not,
an
right.
impact attenuation.
Right.
The-
All right, I'll look those over. Any other questions for Mark? All right, so I would like a motion to accept up to both expenses out of the Parks Fund. We have $1 million in parks. We probably have spent less than $100,000 at this point. This is an ask anywhere from 80 to 110. I'd like to have a motion to approve the larger amount, and then when we compare them, we may spend less.
What's the maximum not to exceed?
It's more like 120.
Is it 120?
I thought it, yeah.
62 and 57.
Yeah.
Sorry, 121.
Yeah, so not,
All right.
not to exceed 121.5.
I'll make a motion not to exceed 121,000 for those two areas.
Yeah, 121.
121.5.
Yeah. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mark, while you're up there, let's talk about your pavilion. So we have $1 million in for a pavilion that is probably not going to be conditioned space. We're talking 5,500 square feet between the tennis courts and your structures that you work out of. Right next to the pit, I should say, before the tennis courts, I'm sorry. It's before
Okay.
the tennis courts, right near the pit. And that's going to be a Butler-type building with a field inside.
Yep.
That could be utilized for sports. And the concept is if there's a lightning storm and all your kids are outside, they can go into this structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those have always been primary concerns of ours, with that many kids at the camp and relying entirely on the Board of Education for shelter when thunderstorms and weather rolls in. The other thing is we don't really have an adequate active shooter plan. Because if something happens very, very quickly, there's no time to contact, there's no time to move the kids to the high school. And so we're not looking at the pit.
If you're at the pit, the best soil so far that we found is to the right of the 6 courts that you have there, before the pit. So the pit would still be usable.
Okay,
Yeah.
just for your information and perspective, we have many fewer softball teams, and the softball fields have been gradually repurposed for other sports and other activities. And having the lights at Worley also helps us out because we can do 3 games a night there, and everybody tends to want to play there versus a Brennan or Painter Pit. My thoughts were, there's a lot of ledge there, but I was kind of envisioning sort of a steel building on a slab, right?
Exactly.
A bit, a little bit bigger than a full-size basketball court, as big as we could, maybe a small office, a small bathroom, a little bit of storage in the corners, if there was enough room to have a 2-lane walk-through. But at the end of the day, the entire surface can be synthetic. It can be lined for basketball and pickleball and badminton and everything else. We could utilize it for all of our adult exercise programs and current programming, because we incur custodial overtime when we use the Board of Ed facilities now, and we don't have a home. We would much prefer to bring this in-house, and it would really augment our regular programming as well during the year. In terms of like conditioning and stuff, like literally a couple of Resner units in a steel building that has a high enough roof that we could play volleyball, it's a home run.
So
And ultimately,
we want you involved, I mean, to cut you off, we want you involved in the design process.
yeah,
So there'll be regular meetings on site, and there'll be meetings, to go over at each stage of development. We definitely want you part of that.
okay.
Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Did anyone have any questions as to, I just thought the other thing was you could bring utilities in from Painter Drive Extension.
Yeah, so the challenge we have right now is the transformer, which is on the ground near the rink.
Mhm.
They've asked us to move at our expense, $180,000. And it's holding up our free solar canopy, parking canopy, that we're gonna put next to the rink. So what we're thinking is building this structure, we would actually combine the rink and this structure with a new transformer that we wouldn't have to pay for. And that would solve a $180,000 problem at the rink. And then we would put solar
On the roof.
on the roof of your structure and and then I'd have the solar on the roof of the carport. And then we may have to go to the pit, steal some land, do some more solar, and it would make it all worthwhile from a financial
It
standpoint.
has great exposure.
So that's what,
Yeah.
that's what we're ultimately looking at.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other questions for Mark? Did we, we're in discussion, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, your motion carries. Congratulations, thanks for being here.
Thanks. Is it appropriate for me to make any other comment
Go
at
ahead.
this point?
Yeah, sure.
I would just like to share too, there was a piece in here about, I was looking at the lifeguard shack that's down at Morris that really needs to be demoed. It's sort of a misnomer that it's a guard shack at Oak Street at the activities building there. That's a 10 by 12. It contains kayaks and paddles and life jackets and stuff for the summer day camp activities that the aquatics end of our programming takes care of for the camp. There's not any space in there for the guards, and their rescue boards are 13 feet long, so they don't fit in there anyway. So I was looking at a prefab structure. I went down and measured it out, and I think I had sent Ernie an email that I can share with you. The guard shack at Morris that we currently use is 650 square feet. I looked at putting in a 14 by 28 shed, which could be a prefab. It's 392 square feet, but we could actually store all the gear with the rescue
Take
boards.
some pictures for me,
Have-
send me a synopsis, and we'll see what happens.
Certainly, okay, yeah, because it's like a Cloder farm, I'm sure there's
Yeah,
someone on a bid list.
understand.
The second thing was, our tennis courts are shot.
I have no money for the tennis
No,
courts.
no, and I had put in for that,
Yeah.
and, I've had a lot of discussion with Tom over the last couple of years and Ernie about everything, about the pocket parks, the refurbishment, and I have not been privy to all this information, and having gone through it, I just love what I see. Swampscott
Yep,
was really an embarrassment to us and just an absolute shame
Not
for the
for long,
neighborhood.
not for long.
Yeah, so I see so many of these ideas and things we've talked about, so even though I had my own list, I can't be disappointed in what we're not gonna get, and I'm very, very grateful for what we are gonna get, because there's a lot of high-impact stuff in here for our
listen,
residents.
it's been deferred maintenance, it's been neglected. ARPA funds are a great opportunity to bring these things back without using local taxpayer money. And Ernie's doing a great job. Everyone's been very cooperative, and I think we're heading in the right direction.
And this has been a blessing, and it's nice to be getting past the point where we can actually ask for what we need again.
That's awesome.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, let's,
Let me,
Good.
just, we should not do approval forms yet for that, even though we voted on it, because we don't know the vendor. So I'm just
oh,
going
yeah,
to go
okay.
grab those.
That's fine, okay. Okay, so, general report, I just want to report to the committee that I have met with the city council, and the city council has voted on the current spending project tracker, if you will, on page 12. So everything above the reserve projects has been approved by the council, and there are several new projects. Those include the Haley School ramp, the turf at the high school, the Savin Rock playscape and groundscape, the HVAC work at Kerrigan, the electrical work for several city buildings, including the Noble Community Center and City Hall, HVAC for the Noble, and then Kerrigan is the boilers, and emergency bleacher repair for veterans. So those projects were added. We'll continue to update the council as these projects unfold. We're also coming to a close on several contracts for our larger projects. I have with me tonight a completed contract for the field house at Painter, and I'm told that I have to bring it to Ricky, who runs it by Marb. It then goes to Lee Turner for an okay. It then goes to Scott Jackson to make sure the money's there, and then it goes to the mayor. I may have the order mixed up, but those are the 4 people it has to go to. So I'm going to be hand-walking those through the process to try to get them assigned as quickly as possible. All right? Any questions on the tracker? Anybody? We also are realizing the most efficient way to do things, and as we approve invoices, we're going to actually sign tonight for the conflict statement to make sure no one has a conflict with each invoice. We have a policy that we're following. Their City Hall's popping out POs pretty quickly, which hasn't happened in over a year, so that's going very, very well. So I think we have an opportunity to start spending more money. As far as the project list, I'll just run through it carefully, quickly. We have, under the CARES Act Financial Management, I have an invoice from UHY in the amount of $13,480.96. So I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Gary, second.
Gary, second, okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I have a Carmody invoice in the amount of $92.70. Do I have a motion to approve?
The 9,270?
Yep. Is that you, Chris?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Gary's the second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I have a Carmody invoice, the amount of $23,895. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have that's Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Gary. Any discussion? Okay, and that is on page 19 and 20, just so you know. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Next, I have a Joe Films invoice in the amount of $250. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is Chris. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Moving on, the Child Development Center roof. I'll give you an update that the design was complete. We went back to the city council. We asked them for money to replace the HVAC units that are 23 years old. The architect designing that discovered the condition of those units and advised that they would not survive. So we're modifying the roof plan to be able to carry the weight of the new equipment. And I'm not talking the structural weight, I'm talking about the insulation. We don't want the insulation to sink, so they're changing the insulation to be able to support the RTU, because that's where we are there.
Approved by the council?
Yes, it's one of the projects on your tracker. Next, I've got park funds. Starting with the update, if you go to page 27. This is an update from Ernie, all the things that are going on in his world with the parks money. And as you can see, it's quite extensive. And he writes from page 27 to page 35, all his notes and everything he's doing. So Ernie and Lee are out there working very hard. They're identifying deficiencies all over the place, and we're approving the money to fix those things. Okay? Next, I've got Hubbard Park concrete ramps and sidewalk. We actually have a PO for this. Yes. Yep. And these are,
For the CARES Act ones, the UHY, two of ours, and,
nothing I have to.
Yep.
Right. So Chow, I have a conflict with. So recuse myself on that one?
yeah,
Okay. Just recuse?
just recuse. These are the first four.
So what's happening is, it's getting harder and harder to find vendors. All towns are spending ARPA money. Ernie is following the bidding process. He absolutely proves that with everything that he submits. We're approving it very quickly, and then we're getting them a PO very quickly. That is happening sooner than our monthly meetings. So because of that, you're gonna see some POs here, and it may be the first time you're seeing it. I'm asking you to approve the amount to be paid pending completion and inspection. That's how the motion should read, okay? So the first one I have is the Hubbard Park concrete ramps and sidewalk. If you go over to Hubbard Park, anyone who's disabled cannot make it from their car to their bridges. There's some nice bridges that allows you to walk around the nature area. This money will cover the installation of a sidewalk from the parking lot to the bridge. And then when you get to these bridges, they're up high, they're installing ramps, so someone who's disabled can access that area. It did go out to bid, and we used the city contract, Elm City, which is a contract that went out to bid, obviously, for $20,884.96. So I'm looking for a motion to approve that pending its completion and inspection.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any discussion?
Question.
Go ahead.
When will this work be completed?
Starting next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
When will it be completed or when will it be started?
Hubbard Park.
Oh, Hubbard Park,
Starting next
20,
Okay, to answer your question.
yeah.
That was Mike?
It was Mike, followed by Chris. Yep. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we go to items 3 and 4 on the agenda. So these were already approved a moment ago because we went out of order. And that's the Childscape for Painter Park and the Grove Park. However, we approved up to that amount. We're going to vet Creative Recreation and see if we can get a better deal. Okay?
And on those, whatever vendor we choose, I'll do an appropriate
Yeah, yeah.
approval form.
Well, there'll be an invoice that comes to us that we'll approve at some point.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're not approving these invoices, we're just approving the amounts.
Delayed in Hubbard Park.
Okay. All right, next, I've got Old Grove Park Concrete Cornhole. So this is a $1,382 spend, a cornhole game. My father-in-law knows it very well, because I beat him in it all the time, but that's beside the point. This is for a company to supply concrete cornholes that city employees will install. So they're vandalism-free, they last a long time. And we've got them going in 2 locations, both for $1,382. One goes to Old Grove Park, the other goes to Veterans Memorial. I'm going to ask for a motion to accept both to be paid at completion and inspection.
And just so the record's clear, the vendor is Doty and Sons Concrete Products, Inc. So, on both.
And no labor, this is just material.
Motion to approve.
That's Dwight, do I have a second?
Second.
That's Ken. Any discussion?
Real quick, Ken.
Yes.
Do we need any special approvals for Old Grove Park to install something down there? Like
No. I
land
think we're-
trust, anything like that?
No, I think we're replacing what's there, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we voting on both?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, we move on to Veterans Field installation of a new gate in the amount of $38.72. So I'm being told that during events at this park, there's the football field, people are cutting through from one parcel to the next. The chance of them getting hit by a car is very high. I'm told for $38.72, they can solve that problem. Do I have a motion to approve this expense upon completion inspection? They're going to separate the 2 parcels with a gate so people can't take a shortcut through the parking lot.
So they just climb the gate, fall down, break their arm, and then sue us.
There'll be less of that, but I guess that could happen. Do I have a second?
Now, are they talking about the gate going into the park, to
No.
the field?
No.
Is that one that gets you into the parking lot to go down by, Aldi's and out that exit?
I think it's different than that.
It's different than
Yeah,
that?
what they're telling me is that when they leave the park, they can get to a parking area because there's no gate that is an area they shouldn't be walking like at night with cars driving around. They have to walk through a defined path and not do a cut through. That's what Ernest telling me.
Holding up paper too long and passing it.
Who made a motion, on that one? Dwight, and who's the second?
I don't think we had a second, but I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Yep. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next, we got tree and brush removal at Platt and Plainfield. This went out to a public bid. The low bidder was actually $7,600. The second lowest bidder was $24,300. And when we did the scope review with the low bidder, he did not carry most of what was required. This is a clearing of two parks to gain access to the park, and then the installation of a gravel bed so people can get into the park and future work can be done in the parks. Completely overgrown. This price reflects doing the work this time of year because there's no foliage on the trees. It's easier. And that's for $24,300. It hasn't started yet, but we would like an approval for payment pending completion and final inspection. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Ken, do I have a second?
I'll
Mike?
second it.
All right, any discussion?
I do have a question. Now, this is the open space that the state gave us money years ago, I think, to purchase.
We're in violation of,
Well, we had looked at it years ago for a community garden. Right now, it's completely overgrown.
Yes.
And once it's, I think it needs to be cleared, for sure.
correct.
But what's our plan moving forward to keep it empty, and do we have any other plans for that?
So I can tell you that once this money is spent, more funds will be needed to make it more usable for citizens. And I'll have a report for you once we clear it and we get in there and we see what we can do. There'll be another ask.
It's a great spot. I mean,
know it is.
There's a lot of opportunity up there, but
But it's just been ignored for so
it's
long.
just overgrown.
Yeah. Anybody else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have Bill Hill Lane repair to gate. Now, this is an actual repair to the gate at Bill Hill Lane. Let me see if I have that one. Okay. Veterans Field repair to gate. So this is what you guys were asked about earlier. This is an actual repair to one of the entrance gates. Okay. I'd like a motion to approve this expense pending completion and inspection. Do I have a motion? Okay, let's go with Rohan, seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Next, we move on to stump chompers. This is for, in the amount of $24.50. And this is 22 Tile Street, West Haven. So, if you go to page 45, it gives you a description. This is basically the trimming of trees and clearing of brush. And this did go out to bid. Do you have a motion to accept this proposal and to pay it pending final completion and inspection?
Motion.
What was that? Okay, Rohan, followed by Dwight. Any discussion?
Ken, real quick, what is this area going to be used for once it's cleared up and cleaned up? Is this a pocket park?
I'm
or-
being told it's being used now, and this tree is a danger to the residents that are using it.
Okay.
That's what they're telling me. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, so next we have Hinding Tennis. I'm not calling for action on this, but discussion only. So here's what we have. We have Third Avenue Park, and there presently is a basketball court there. There are too many trees in the park. I received word through Ernie that several council people and city leaders want to revamp that area. I went there on Sunday and I knocked on some doors. I spoke to the neighbors, and they're telling me that any work you do there, if it's not combined with some lighting and some security, it's going to continue to be a problem. So this particular proposal is to redo the court in its entirety, split it between a pickleball court and a half basketball court, put a fence around it, and take down 4 trees. And my understanding is there's pushback on removing those 4 trees. I'd like to just discuss it, because I think to spend this kind of money down there, we have to have a conversation with the police department.
How
Public
much is the
Works.
ask, Ken?
What was that?
How much is the ask for this?
This is 144, yeah. $144,300. And, you know, you have to go down there. I'd encourage you between now and the next meeting to go down there and take a look. But unless we're gonna put some lights down there and a security camera, I don't know if it pays to do anything. Ron, do you have any comments on this one? You know that area. Any feelings on this?
Yeah, it's a dead end.
A congregating area, so, yeah, there's an issue with lighting and cameras. I would agree.
And, I mean, a lot of these places we're speaking about tonight, I have no idea where they are or what they are. This place I know.
Yeah.
There's, whatever, 56,000 people in West Haven, and only 2 of them know where that place is, and they're probably dealing drugs there right now.
There's definitely a bad
We're
element.
only supposed to determine whether or not it's spent correctly, but as a taxpayer, I wouldn't put a nickel in that place.
It's
So-
a great, it is a really nice neighborhood,
Mhm.
and I believe the city has put some work into that basketball court,
Yeah.
but you got some large oak trees
That's a problem.
there that are actually pulling up the underneath of
That's
the
right.
court. I think the park is really, really nice, but there is a security issue for sure. If you go to put lights in there, I'm not sure the neighbors would appreciate that, because it's surrounded by homes. It's a really nice neighborhood. The activity that happens in the park isn't all that nice, and how you would, upgrade the park and keep it safe, I'm not sure.
I think if you, and we're just discussing here, but I think if the committee decides to put that kind of money into this park, I think lights that don't create light pollution, and I think a novel idea is you put a camera there and you give everybody in the neighborhood the password to the camera. Let everybody in the neighborhood monitor the park. But I think we need more buy-in from the neighborhood. And I would ask that some committee members go down there between now and the next meeting and poke around, tell me what you think. The problem is, if you do nothing with it, it's gonna get worse and worse. If people, if there's community buy-in perhaps to police it and use it, you might wanna consider, but it was just for discussion tonight.
Would that be an appropriate neighborhood maybe for a community garden?
Maybe. Go check it out. Yeah, you guys should go down there.
I know the area, yeah.
Yeah.
Ken, would it make sense to ask the city council member from that district and maybe the chief of police to come and just discuss this with us?
100%. Do you want to spearhead that?
Sure.
That'd be great. Yeah, and there's some nice people down there. I would knock on a few doors. I did that on Sunday. Maybe Mike come back next month with a little report for us.
Yep.
That'd be great. And I really think about that camera idea. I think if you put a camera up and gave viewing rights to everybody in the immediate neighborhood, I think that'd be pretty cool. Might help.
Keep the police busy.
So, okay, moving on, food bank. We have met with the recipients of the food bank. UHY has had independent meetings with each of them to tell them the rules for spending the money.
What page you on, Ken?
I'm on the agenda on 2022-004, food bank. I don't think there's a page in here for that. Yeah. So they're looking at what their buy is going to be. In the meantime, the Board of Ed has received their $100,000 transfer. And we did it that way because they have their own accounting division to try and get City Hall to transfer $3,000 a month over the next 2 years, or potentially more than 2 years. 3 years seemed a little labor intensive, so they were more than happy to give the $100,000 to the Board of Ed. and the Board of Ed will provide documentation directly to UHY. As far as we're concerned, the $100,000 is spent. All right? And I'll keep you updated on that. Next, I have, any questions on that one? Next, I have the Johnson Senior Center. The contract has been signed by the design professional. It's going to the mayor's office to be signed next, and I think Marb has to put their stamp of approval on it. It's around $71,000. And once that's signed, we will begin the process of meeting the designers every 2 weeks and getting that project underway to meet the obligation of the spend from the council. Any questions on that one? Okay, next I have stormwater management. It's a $3 million spend. The $530,000 went to the truck, and we expect that at the end of the beginning of the second quarter this year. So we will hopefully have that truck soon. The water management grant matching funds, we've already approved $149,000 towards it. We also have a large study going on, which is supported from those funds, and tonight we do have an invoice of $15,000. This particular engineering firm did go out to bid. They narrowed it down to 4. They created a building committee. They interviewed each firm and came back and awarded it to this firm. So we'll be getting bills like this probably every month. Do I have a motion to approve invoice 901698-48 for CDM Smith in the amount of $15,000?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Ken, that's just for the design and the plan. Are they gonna help us prioritize where the issues are citywide, or?
Yeah, it's a $500,000 spend. My understanding is it's discovery, identifying problems, and offering solutions, and a multi-year plan to do that.
So they'll work right through the process with us, right
Correct.
through construction?
Yeah,
All
that's my
right, good,
understanding.
good.
And I think once you have that, it opens up the door to state grants, state and federal grants.
Great.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next, we have this is the 15, yeah. We have a invoice for United Rentals in the amount of $2,550.26 for the rental of a small backhoe. Do I have a motion to approve that? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I have some discussion. So I have here a pile of reports. In my opinion, what the city personnel have been able to do with these funds has been great. They're going out, they're identifying areas that have been filled in over time by homeowners to increase the size of their yard. The city has a right-of-way to that area. They're taking this small backhoe we're renting, they're digging the trench out, they're finding a pipe 2 feet under the ground, they're cleaning that out, and they're creating a very detailed report with before and after pictures.
Gotta do both invoices.
What was that?
There's 2 invoices. Do you want to do both of them?
Sure. And they're relieving flooding around the city. Now, we have a $1.4 million spend. UHY tells me that we can reimburse the city for regular time spent on these projects. That time is $47.85 an hour. And the city is creating reports with before and after pictures. I give it to UHY, they vet it, it comes back here for approval, so next month you'll be giving money to the city based on all these reports. I think this is the most effective process we have going on to eliminate draining issues, flooding issues, and it's not requiring much engineering. These guys seem to know the system very well, and all they're doing is reclaiming a system that has been basically abandoned. Now, with that, when you run the numbers and you start renting a machine, over the next 18 months, you're gonna hit $50,000. We went to the state bid list, and we found a machine that is brand new. That machine is on the state bid list. It is a small machine which allows them to get around. Is that around there? They can navigate in people's yards without damaging much. They can use the small bucket to access these pipes without damaging the pipes. So, under new business, I'm gonna ask that this be brought onto the agenda and that we approve the purchase of this machine. It's $70,571. The city will own it. The city has a area on Wood Street they're renting to house the machine, so it doesn't stay outside. The city has a trailer that can move the machine, and the city has trucks that can move the trailer. This machine was also on the bonding list, and it will now come off the bonding list, putting less pressure on the bonding list. So I'm gonna ask for approval on the rental first, and then when we get to new business, I'm gonna bring this up, and we can talk more about it, hopefully to approve it.
Ken, a real quick question.
Yes.
What department is spearheading this effort? And I've heard it's going well. Is this water pollution?
It's a combination of water pollution and city, and apparently, looking at their responsibilities, they can share machinery, they can share equipment. It doesn't have to be two machines.
Yeah.
And so Mike O'Brien is running this machine. He keeps his equipment very nice. He's very knowledgeable. I call this guy, he answers the phone. I tell him to do reports. I mean, these reports are unbelievable. He talks about the percentage. I mean, he's finding stuff that's 75% to 100% blocked. And we want to know why there's flooding in neighborhoods.
And I think that's the case. I'm hoping that this because it has been well-received, and I'm hoping that it can be sustainable with somebody either from water pollution or public works or a combination of both, just because it'll only take a couple of years once everything is opened up again for it to shut down, and we're going to be back in the same
I think the stuff,
position.
I think the culverts they're digging out haven't been touched in 20 years, Mike.
Oh, I bet.
I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that for us to get the best value on this $1.4 million spend, it's not in renting equipment. It's in buying the equipment, running it ourselves, and I think you'll get more work because of it.
And I think you could keep a machine like this going 12 months a year,
Yeah. Sure.
continuously.
All right, so we're on the invoices for the United Rentals. I've got two.
No, they were approved.
They're both approved? Okay, we're good there. All right, let's go down to Recycling Center.
I don't think we voted on that, though. There was a motion, there was a second, and we were under discussion, I think, right?
Okay.
You're right, you're right.
All right, is a motion for both invoices or one?
Both.
Both. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, so that brings us down to the Recycling Center reuse. That's in design. I don't know a lot about that, but I'll have more information for you next week. The broadband, the Navigator system program with the broadband in the library is going very well. City Hall windows, we finally have the contract resolved, so that will start soon. And we think come third quarter, you'll see new windows in City Hall. Fire districts are working on their spend, and they're working with UHY. They're also working on the EMS premium pay through UHY. The boardwalk monitoring camera system was well-received by the police. We have another meeting on the 14th to go over the exact placement of cameras, and then that'll go out to bid. Painter Park Fieldhouse, I mentioned earlier when Mark was here, is in design. EMS premium pay, I just mentioned, the fire departments are working with UHY. Police protection bulletproof vests and gas masks. That material has not come in yet, and I have refused to even entertain an invoice until it does come in, so we're waiting for that to come in. Next, I got the camera and sound for the meeting room. That went out to bid. There was one person who was a contractor who didn't seem to have a lot of knowledge on cameras, so we're putting it back out to bid, and the new bid walkthrough is now February 23rd. There is an invoice associated with that of $441.40, and that's advertisement in the New Haven Register. Do you have a motion to approve that invoice?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ken, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, I've got demolition of Beach Street. This is starting very soon. This was a public bid, and this was a specific spend on the council's request, $23,525. I'm going to ask for a motion to pay this pending completion and final inspection.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Ken. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We gotta spend a lot more, buddy.
I was gonna say, buckle up, you got more coming.
Yeah, we gotta spend a lot more. We're a little behind, actually, I think. Okay, next, I've got the Housing Crisis Grant Fund. You heard that tonight from Olivia, so I think we're up to speed on that. Haley School Ramp, we're getting prices on. I'll get back to you on a proposal in the future. The turf and field work, we already have a proposal for $2.5 million. That is finishing design, and I will get back to you on that. The Savin Rock Playscape and Groundscape, that consists of replacing a slide and doing a groundscape painting. That will happen in the spring. HVAC for Noble Community Center is in design now to go out to bid. The electrical for the various city-owned buildings, I told Public Works to start spending money on that. We'll get bills on that in the future. Kerrigan boilers in design. And you may have heard we had a freeze up at Kerrigan on Saturday. We lost 4 sprinkler heads. And then we've got the emergency bleacher repair. I told Commissioner of Public Works that money is available to get a price on that. That brings us down to new business, and I'd like to add, a motion to add to new business the H.O. Penn quote of $70,571, as well as the sanitary equipment quote of $2,836 and 93 cents. Do I have a motion to add that to the agenda?
Motion to add.
Second.
Let me bring you guys up to speed on that. Pass that
I'll
down.
second it.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's carried. Everybody have one of these? Need another one down there? You good? Okay, you guys got them? All right, so go to this, this sanitary equipment. If you go to page 3, this guy gets sent down the pipe and cuts all the tree roots. And the specific problem we're having is on Washington Avenue. The pipe is completely overgrown with tree roots. They send this guy down, and it just cuts all the tree roots. Now, there are several areas having that problem, but right now, we're flooding over there because of that. We would like to purchase this piece of equipment for $2,836. Now, the reason we're not going out to bid on this, it's a sole source provider. We own the machinery that runs this equipment, and it can only be purchased from this company, which happens to be in West Haven. You can't put this out to bid. It's a sole source provider. Do I have a motion to accept 2836.93, quote number 013456 from Sanitary Equipment for this device?
Okay, so we purchased this device.
Yep.
And this device is breakdown, I need to repair. Who's gonna repair it?
Sanitary Equipment does it. They have a warranty on it, and they also they can service it.
Yeah, but how long is the warranty?
Probably a year, I don't know. But I would tell you, they own a lot of equipment from Sanitary, including the new vac truck that we bought, and they're in West Haven, and they service all this equipment. So,
This is it, 2,800 for the equipment?
yeah. Yeah,
That's great, yeah.
yeah, it solves all the tree roots. And honestly, Ryan, I don't even know if there is a warranty. I mean, you're shoving this thing down to down a pipe, cutting
That's
tree
what I'm
roots.
thinking.
You know,
That's
but,
what I'm thinking.
but they can repair it. And this thing looks like a missile to me, I don't know.
Yeah.
Are these all like clay pipes, or are they that old?
Some are clay, some are concrete, yeah.
Wow.
But this thing cleans it out.
This thing, I mean, those old clay pipes, though, it doesn't,
Listen, guys, you're asking me your next, I'm not,
yeah, I know.
I'm not Ed Norton here, I don't know.
$2,800, you know.
I think it's a safe bet, that's all I'm saying.
Probably destroy all the pipes.
It might.
I spent more than that over 10 years getting my drain out to the street from my house cleaned.
Exactly right. This might be a little overkill for your house, but if you want to borrow it, we'll bring it over. This does,
I may buy one myself.
I don't know if you have a license to work that. So, I think we passed a motion to accept this, providing Chris never buys one on his own, for his own safety.
I'll just rent myself out.
Do you have a motion to approve this spend?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Mike, Chris, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Next, we go to the big one, which is H.O. Penn. This is for the purchase of a new backhoe. There's a picture of it on page 3. It's a little guy. It's perfect for cleaning drains and culverts. It meets all the specs that the city asked. Now, I will tell you, the original ask was for a bigger machine and a trailer and a whole other truck to carry it. We got all that out of the way, and we said, listen, you have vehicles, we'll get one small enough that your vehicles can tow it. You got a place to store it. I mean, you can't blame for asking, but this will suit the needs of cleaning culverts and
Now,
drains.
did you say something, where are they gonna keep it? Did you say we're renting?
Wood Street, they rented a facility on Wood Street, yeah.
Just for this?
I know, they have other stuff in there. Yep, but my question was, will this be left outside? The answer is no. So let's start with a motion to approve this spend under the parks.
enough to do what we needed to do?
Yes, sir. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Who's second?
Ken? Any discussion? All in favor of this purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, I think that's good. That is the end of new business for me. Does anybody else have any new business to put on the agenda? Anybody? Does anyone have any questions on anything we went over tonight?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is any of this funds gonna use to redo any of the streets in West Haven?
We have on the tracker $1,350,000 for paving. That would be to redo the streets in West Haven. We've already spent $2 million of ARPA funds for paving. We're proposing another $1,350,000. It's in reserve, and the council has to move it up to an approved project. Okay. And I think the sidewalk project came out great. A lot of sidewalks went in. Anybody else? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Second?
Aye.
Second, Dwight, all in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, have a wonderful night, we'll see you next month. Mike, you'll spearhead Third Avenue.
I will take care of Third Avenue.